My name's Jeff.
And I'm Stephanie. We're the Carriers.
Growing up, I came from a dysfunctional family, and me and my dad was on one side of the family. My mom and my sister was on the other, both alcoholics. My dad ended up taking his life when I was 15 or 16, so kind of left me with my mom and my sister.
My parents divorced and remarried, had a very unhealthy communication and much more, not traumatic. Mine didn't include as much, I don't know, turmoil, but when my parents separated, they did not get along. And so there was lots of fighting and arguing when I was a young child.
I didn't have a father figure. When my dad killed himself, all my uncles from that side of the family blamed my mom, so they kind of blacklisted me. So I kind of grew up on my own, which was a lot of alcohol and a lot of learning as I went, which included the law and everything else. Anything I could do wrong, I did do wrong. I hated everybody. I hated everybody and everything. Yeah. Hated God. I hated my sister, my mom, because my sister was always on a pedestal. So she was the favorite child. I was a mistake. I learned that from a young age. My parents only wanted 2 kids. My mom miscarried on the second one. I just showed up, surprise. So I got to hear that the whole time. So when he killed himself, I was just kind of stuck. I had to raise myself. I was only there for the life insurance and Social Security. When that ran out, my mom told me to get out. So that's when I bought my first house when I was 17. I had my son when I was 17, and I got married to my first wife when I was 18. I completely hated God. I didn't want anything to do with him. I thought he was fake. My grandma made me go to the priests all the time so I could have grief counseling. And we sat there for an hour. And I told him, I said, you do what you got to do. I'm not listening to you. I said, you took the only person that actually cared to love me away from me for whatever reason. So no, I couldn't stand God. I didn't believe him. I thought he was fake.
I didn't attend church. My parents didn't encourage that. Now, if I was with my grandmother, we would go to church. I have 2 uncles that were both Baptist pastors. So like when I was with that side of the family, I was a little more involved, but not until we got married and went through some other turmoil that we kind of were introduced to coming into church.
Coincidentally enough, I started drinking when I was 15. So I've been in the bars ever since then. I was a manager at a bar when she came in for her 21st birthday when she was 20.
My brother dated one of the managers at the bar, so I was able to go there, and that's how we met. You proposed 6 months after we met.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't get married for
4 or 5 years.
Yeah, there was lots of other people that were getting married, and we kind of just waited. And
we waited because I think a lot of it. Well, every time we wanted to, your dad was sick. So we kept pushing that off to make sure that he'd show up and everything else. And
yeah,
that was a lot of it was that. In fact, the day of our wedding, he got out of the ICU and made it that day.
The morning of my wedding.
Yeah.
He called me at like 4:30 in the morning at the hotel, and he's like, hello? And I'm like, hello? And he's like, where's your stepmother? And I said, I think she's probably in her room sleeping. It was her first night in probably 6 months that she had slept in a bed, because she slept in the ICU the whole time my dad was there. God love her. And so I went and woke her up, and she went and got my dad. And I remember him getting there, and my brother-in-law and my brother, they were unloading all of his oxygen and everything he needed. And he was actually there. And unfortunately, he could not walk me down the aisle because he didn't have enough strength. But he got to hold my hand when he gave me away. That was April 17th. And then my dad actually died December 6th of the same year. So it was like a great thing that he could be there. But then it was his time.
100%. See, I never even spoke about my dad killing himself until I was in rehab, which I checked into rehab just voluntarily. There's a couple of things. I was going to lose my better half, the one that she actually completes me. We're oil and vinegar or whatever, oil and water, whatever. She's yang, I'm yang, whatever. She's the good, I'm the bad. So we mesh real well.
Uh-huh.
And I was on the verge of losing that. I think I even made a pranky promise with my daughter. And she was, 4, 5? That I wouldn't drink. And I was still drinking, and I was just like my parents.
He would go like 30 days sober. He's like, I'm just going to quit drinking. And it would be 30 days. And 30 days was great. And then he'd fall right off the wagon.
Make
And
up for it, though.
he would flatten all 4 tires like right then. And it wasn't that he didn't go to work or function. He went to work. He did everything he needed to do. But when he got off work, he would go out and then he would come home and he would drink more. And then he would find reasons to go out.
Well, I'd start a fight on purpose. I mean, I'd already have it pre-gamed on the way home, how to get underneath her skin. And then I would blame her why I left to go to the bar.
And then he'd go out all night. And then I would go to bed, put our daughter to bed. And then I would lay in bed and time would tick. And I'd get on my phone and I'd check our bank account because I thought I could tell where he was at. I could check where he was taking money from.
Stupid.
And then it was like, okay, it had been several hours. And then it was like there was nights where it had been like many hours. And then it was starting to call around to like the county jail, the hospitals, because it had been now 6, 7, 8 hours and he was not answering the phone, couldn't be found.
I went to jail on our anniversary.
I picked him up from jail that next morning. We were heading out of town.
It's because you're nosy and you started looking for me. I was perfectly fine getting home. I already had it all planned out.
He was going to walk home from the county jail
Anniversary?
and pretend like nothing happened.
100%. Yeah. Like I said, I was just tired. I just wanted to be done. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to check myself in.
Well, you went the first time to check yourself in.
I did, and I didn't feel like I was ready. So I left. I mean, I didn't know this. I was all new to this. I figured out, strong guy, I got this. Not weak. And I was weak. So I went and checked myself in.
I can remember, like, I blacked out a lot of stuff just because
Me too.
it was just not the best. I mean, there's great things I remember, but I remember specifically the morning I woke up that morning, he wasn't there. And I thought, okay. And I went downstairs and he was sleeping in the driveway in his car.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
And I thought to myself, I'm going to just proceed with my day. I had plans with my friends to take our daughter to Chick-fil-A, kind of hang out. And at that point, I had already reached out to my friends and my family and started branching out and letting people know, listen, I've done this for too long. I can't do it any longer. I'm going to need some help. And this is what I'm experiencing. And so he came in the house. My mom knew that he was going to check himself in. He sat on the back porch. He called his boss and said, I have to go to rehab. I don't know what's going to happen. And I just said, I'm leaving. And I just said, I'm going to Chick-fil-A. And I went to Chick-fil-A and my girlfriends were there and they were awesome. The kids played.
And I went to rehab.
He drove himself to rehab. And my mom said, do you feel okay with that? And I said, I can't make any decisions for him anymore. I can't make him do anything that he doesn't want to do. So you called me from rehab and I went outside and I got on the phone and the lady said, your husband has to make the decision if he wants to sign the paperwork and stay. If he signs the paperwork and stay, he has to stay through the whole contract or you're going to be charged $76,000.
Yeah, I didn't know about all that.
And I said, okay. I said, may I speak with him? And he got on the phone and he said, I think I can probably just do outpatient on my own. And I said, okay, well, you can do whatever you want. I'm going to go back into Chick-fil-A. I'm going to continue my day, but just note that I'm going to proceed on with my plans were filing for divorce and my mom was going to help me. And I said, so you have to make your decision.
Kind of a game changer right there.
And because I had already been hurt so much that it was kind of like I had to put in everything I had for our 3-year-old at that time. And so I remember getting a phone. I stayed out of the house all day with her. We just did things. And I remember getting a phone call back from the financial lady there at the rehab facility back in Illinois. And she said, he signed the paperwork. How are you going to pay for this? And I was like, okay. And she was great. She said, I spoke with your insurance company. You have really great insurance. You only owe $1,200. I said, what? She said, yeah.
You need an electrician, buddy.
And I said, okay, so $1,200, how do I pay? And she said, you can pay $25 a week. We don't care. He said, perfect, let's set it up. So we set it up. And I remember going home and putting our daughter to bed and being able to sleep that night, knowing that he was somewhere, that he was being monitored, and knowing that money is a thing on his mind all the time, that he was not walking out of that door until they were letting him because he was not going to pay that money.
It's kind of bogus. They say I was voluntarily check myself in until she circled that red $76,000. What's that? If you leave without us okaying it, you're on the hook. I'm like, well, it's not really voluntary now, is it?
Yeah. And so 28 days you spent in there.
Yep.
And I think that 28 days really changed clearly it changed our life, but
There's a lot of clarity because I didn't know what my higher power was. Because that was the hardest thing with rehab is they wanted me to keep talking about higher power. I'm like, I don't even believe in God. It's like, it doesn't have to be God. It can be a rock. Get outside of your head. It's just anything that's more than you. So that's why eventually I just broke down. I told him about my dad. That's the first time I've ever told anybody outside of the scope.
But the 28 days was really great. On Saturdays, like we could go in. Well, not for him, it wasn't. Like for me, I mean, I was scary because I was home by myself with our daughter and then trying to navigate that. And then it was like, how do you tell your 3-year-old where you're. And the counselor there was like, well, she's got to know because this is part of your new life.
She learned how to ride a bike at my rehab facility.
It was a beautiful park. I mean, it was at the hospital. It was beautiful.
Actually, it wasn't that bad. It was a lot clearer. I didn't have to lie. I mean, drinking, you got to put a lot of work into drink. It's not that, I mean, like anything, any part of your addiction, you got to put a lot of work in. I have to be able to drink, be able to afford it, be able to come up with my lies and remember them. It's a lot of work. It's not that hard. I remember, like, I think it was like the first or second night I was home. I went down to get a Polar Pop, a soda at the gas station. And I started talking to all the guys that were down there and everything else. And as soon as I came back, she's like, where you been at? I instantly went to a lie mode. Like, I went to the gas station for a soda. I don't gotta lie. I mean, I was being straight up legit. But it was just instantaneously, I gotta lie. And I was like, you know what? This is a lot of work, which people don't understand how much work you put in just to drink. I ended up volunteering and doing security for a church that seats 3,500. And it was great. Actually, I decided to get rebaptized again because I'm not certain why. I just wanted, it was my choice now. It wasn't my parents' choice. I wasn't little. Still had my walls up and everything else, but they slowly started to come down. And I don't know if they actually 100% came down until I got here. But no, I was sitting over there watching that door. And for some reason, I can't even remember what I was talking about, but it was just, I got teary-eyed, the goosebumps came, and I don't know, something just went through me. And I even went over, when the lights come on, and I know Pastor's up on the stage, and we're all good. I sat down next to her, I said, something happened over there. She goes, you good? I said, I'm great. I don't know what it was. I guess it was him.
God.
I mean, I guess it's him.
I don't know. My movement was more probably when we first started coming here, and I had a movement during a service. I cried and cried and cried, and my heart was it felt like my heart was breaking. And I was like, okay, we're here. This is where we're supposed to be, where we're always going to be. And God is working with us, and this is right. This is where we're supposed to be.